Good evening, everyone. This is the May 23rd, 2018 meeting of the Arbor Conservation Commission. This meeting is being broadcast live, but would also be recorded and can be viewed at the town website, arbonguide.com. Before we begin tonight's hearing, I'm required to ask if anyone in the audience is making a recording of this meeting. Okay. With that representation, the first item on tonight's agenda is a 7 o'clock public hearing. Longwood Development Corporation, a notice of intent for the construction of a commercial building and parking lot on property located at 17 Mill Street in Arbor. Is there a motion open?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed to vote. And where is the applicant? Okay.
Well, they did request to continue with planning, but
They did.
I didn't get any.
This was to continue for 2025. Hi, Michelle.
Did the peer review come back?
I think one side did, but I don't think the other side, I didn't hear that they,
Okay, so you think Graves did the peer
I know
review?
they continued last night at planning board because they either didn't have time to digest it or,
Well, then I think it's probably a fair assumption that they're not coming tonight. Would have been nice if they had notified us.
yeah, unless somebody sent me an email. I left at 3 today and I haven't checked my emails.
All right, okay. Why don't we do this? Why don't we just put this to the side? If someone does come, or if you have an opportunity to check your email, we'll revisit this, okay?
Okay, sure.
All right. We have some other items. In fact, we had a busy weekend making site visits. Okay, and so what I wanted to do is to go through them one by one. With regard to the request for certificate of compliance, we're still waiting for an as-built plan for 199 Southbridge Street, correct?
Yes.
Okay. For 700 Southbridge Street, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, Tom and I went to the site. I took pictures, though I didn't have a chance to send them to you, Sheila.
Okay.
And in fact, I had communicated with Mr. Coyle because the stream behind that building is stagnant. He advised me that he also is aware of the issue and they're trying to determine what the cause is for that. But aside from any issue of stagnant water, the stream behind the new building is filled with debris. It is filled with not only fallen trees, but other types of debris. And I believe, it's just my opinion, and I'm happy to discuss it with everyone, but it's my belief that the applicant needs to clean that out before we can consider issuing a certificate of compliance.
Yep.
And so, will someone give me a motion?
I make a motion that the applicant, 199 Southbridge, 700 Southbridge Street, clean out their back area before we consider
so
issuing.
Send them a letter?
I think we should send them a letter
Okay.
indicating that. Yes.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed to vote. Okay.
I said I in my head. Never said it out loud.
All right.
In the stack.
The next item on the agenda is, or for the certificate of compliance request, is 6 Pioneer Lane. This is a property, we actually went to the site, Tom, Michelle and I, and we met Mr. Kravosky there and also the new homeowners there. Mr. Fan, you have something to say?
Hi, evening, good evening.
So, if you recall, there was a complaint made by the abutter at 2 Warman Road about water going back into their backyard. Basically, a repeat of the complaint that we had received from them last year. When we went to the property on Saturday, the condition seemed to have abated somewhat, but there's still water in that backyard. Mr. Kravosky indicated that the property, where the contour of the property is at 628. What I'm concerned about is we don't have any prior history of that property or that site. We don't know if there were any issues of water flowing into the backyard.
Yep.
And I'm actually thinking that perhaps we want to have a consultant perhaps review the site, make their own determination whether that's just a condition unique to a particular property, or if there are other methods or means that can be done to alleviate the flooding issue at 2 Waterman Road. So, Mr. Fan, what I'm inclined to do is to not take any action on the request for certificate of compliance. I think I'd like to just actually discuss this with members of the board in more detail and see if if that's something we should consider doing.
Yeah, Chairman, I'm not asking for the certificate of compliance. What I asked is Mr. Grabowski met with you there. I have talked to them a few days prior to that. We do have proof that water was always at 2A, 2B, 4, and 4A of Waterman Road. In the file 2 years ago, there was 2 residents, which is at 2 Waterman Road, and also 4A Waterman Road, wrote me a letter saying that water was always existing back there years after years after years, and they were concerning about bacteria, mosquitoes, and children's playing back there, and that's the reason why I asked those 2 residents for the letter, because of the complaint next door. The complaint next door for 2A Waterman Road, I think they wanted to get rid of the water. As Mr. Grabowski said, that also mentioned to me over the weekend that he visited the site after 2A Waterman had put in a complaint, wrote an email. He went to the site and he saw water is flowing at 600 contour that we agreed on. However, I'm in the process of selling that piece of property, and the builders are willing to purchase, but that's another issue. But
Well, you're talking about the lot adjacent to 6 Pioneer Lane. You're talking about 4
Correct.
Pioneer Lane, right?
yes, the 6 Pioneers has to do with also 4 Pioneer, because the outflow of
Right.
4 Pioneer and the outflow of 2A Waterman down to 4 Pioneer.
And now that I
down to
recall,
6.
Mr. Grabowski believes that, I think on the order of conditions, there may be some conditions for 6 Pioneer Lane that also affect 4 Pioneer Lane.
Yep. So
So-
what we asked was to change to make an amendment, an amendment to keep 6 Waterman always have a flow contours of 6 to 8.
Okay. Glenn's supposed to be coming in at 6.
Right, and so
7:30 here.
that's fine. So why don't we do this? Why don't we wait until he comes here at 7:30?
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
I had an opportunity this afternoon to drive by Westwood Road. This is a complaint by Mrs. O'Connell that there were trees in the water, dead trees in the water. And so her property is located on a bank adjacent to Kettlebrook. And it's not just trees in the vicinity of her house. There are trees strewn throughout Kettlebrook and probably other brooks and streams throughout the town of Arbor because of adverse weather conditions. The problem is that, although I believe and agree that those trees should be removed, I'm not sure, we don't have jurisdiction because we can't point the finger at anyone as causing that particular condition. It does appear to be an act of God. Secondly, we don't have the funds of the budgeting to hire anyone to remove those trees. So, and I don't know if, I have to believe that because of all the storms that have occurred, I don't know if DEP has any sort of program or funding or grants that can be applied for to take care of this issue. But, there's no question. Lots of trees came down during this winter because of storms, and even recently. But, there's nothing that we can do as the Urban Conservation Commission to remediate that particular problem.
Yeah, and I think getting the equipment in there to try and get those trees out is going to actually make it, it's going to be worse for the environment than actually getting some of those trees in there, they're in there.
So I haven't had a chance to speak to Mr. Coyle about it, and I don't know if he has any suggestions. But it seems to me, if there is a source of funding available through DEP, or maybe even through the Department of Conservation and Recreation, it's something we could look into.
You're not saying DPW, are you?
I'm saying DEP.
DEP, okay.
No, because this issue came up before, and in fact, I think it happened on Magna Vista, on the other side of Magna Vista. Someone had complained about the same thing, and yeah, there were trees.
Sharon something.
But the problem,
Thornton. Is it Thornton?
it's not. It wasn't that
Okay.
case. It was someone else, and it was the same issue. I think I approached Mr. Coyle at that point, and he said very simply, they don't have the budgeting for it either.
Yeah.
So clearly it's a problem. I think it's a widespread problem, and really the question becomes, what can be done about it if there's any money available.
Yeah.
So. All right, I've got 7:10. The next item on our agenda tonight is an application from the City of Worcester it's a notice of intent for repairs and maintenance of the Worcester Diversion Flood Control System spillway on Southbridge Street. Is there a motion open?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote. Okay.
Affidavit of service
Yes,
for
you
the
can
mailings.
give it to
I'll
Sheila.
take it.
Thank you very much. Would you prefer I send an easel up here, or can I use the whiteboard?
You can use the whiteboard. Mr. Carlson, the applicant didn't come at 7 o'clock.
It's okay.
If you want to leave, you can.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Take care, Bob.
My name is Chris Baker. I work for GZA Environmental.
Okay.
So
Keep your voice up,
I
please.
apologize. I'm here on behalf of our client, the City of Worcester,
Okay.
for dam rehabilitation repairs for the Worcester diversion structure at a property adjacent to 200 Southbridge Street in Arbor.
Mhm.
Basically, the project is going to consist of repairing cracked, spalling concrete at both the control dam here and the intake structure, and also the tunnel that runs out to the outlet for the diversion structure. It will also include removal of dense vegetation and call it infilled soil that has started to collect within the riprap slope protection within this area here, 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 and here. GZA has been out there, and we have delineated the wetlands shown here in yellow, and blue is the average water. A little bit behind that is the FEMA AE zone flood elevation of 488 on the northern side and 100 on the southern side. And we also have shown here our 25, 50, and 100-foot buffer zones. Just a little bit more zoomed in of the control structure, where it shows the riprap that we will be removing vegetation from and the infilled soil. The removal of the soil will be kind of up to contractor needs and methods, but we envision it right now being done with hand tools because they will not be removing riprap, so not really possible to do with an excavator or some type of machinery. So there'll be very minimal disturbance in that area. And then once vegetation and the soil is removed, they will be supplementing to existing grades with crushed stone bedding and new river. In here on the concrete apron just downstream of the control dam, there is currently dense vegetation all across here with what we assume to be siltation collecting on the apron. We will be putting in a small sandbag cofferdam with plastic sheeting to, number one, allow us to dewater within this area, and number two, protect anything from going, into the Kettlebrook and the Eastville Pond area. This material here will be excavated by hand and removed from the spillway.
Are you using any chemicals in that too?
For cleaning or anything like that, no. They'll be using pressure washing, chipping hammers, things like that to get off any spalled concrete, chipped concrete, things like that. Once that takes place, they will be using a variety of repair methods, both with epoxy grouting, additional concrete forms and, in some cases, injection grouting to stop any leaking joints. So what we have here is our basically our erosion sedimentation control plan. For in water, we are proposing 2 turbidity curtains, one upstream of the dam and control structure and one downstream of the dam and control structure. Like I said previously, we have the temporary sandbag coffer dam downstream of the dam. We also have a small temporary sandbag coffer dam. This is kind of shown here, but it's actually in the tunnel. It's to prevent any water wash or sedimentation from the concrete removal from going down into the tunnel. Along here, where the green is shown, we're going to have compost filter socks around all of our staging areas and just upstream of the riprap to be supplemented and replaced. And that is, and also in the, we'll also be doing concrete repairs in the intake structure. This here kind of maps out, we did this by rope access years and years ago to delineate where the deficiencies were, both cracks, falls, leaking joints, things like that. They will be repairing inside of that intake, the curved intake structure, and then also going down to the tunnel, replacing or repairing any construction joints.
How deep is that structure from the water surface down to the bottom, would you say?
I'm gonna guess it's about 25 feet. It goes down pretty far.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to accomplish this during, low water level time. The contractor will be required to have contingencies in place for if there's rain events and things like that, for getting all of this stuff out of the tunnel in time for, spillover at the top of the intake structure.
Is any portion of the work, and I mean the Aurora project, located in Worcester?
No, it's
It's all in Arbor?
correct.
Okay.
The system is basically owned by the city of Worcester, but
I
it's
see.
in Auburn.
That's
So when are you
interesting.
shooting for?
That was because of the...
What's that?
When are you shooting
Webster
for?
Square back in the day.
We would like to start construction the beginning of August, or beginning to middle of August, and then complete it by sometime in mid to late October, possibly into the beginning of November. But we'd like to kind of try and get ahead of the hurricane season.
It's high right now.
Yes, yeah, it's unfortunately we've had a lot more rain than years past.
Yeah.
That's why before we have anyone bid it, we're going to be walking with the contractors so they see
Right.
where we're at right now and what they're up against for watering.
Can we walk it now, or is it do the conditions prohibit that?
No, you can. You should be able to go out there and walk it now. I was there in August for a phase 1 inspection. There's a good amount of vegetation up in this area here, but this cart path, coming across the train tracks and going down here, should just only have minor vegetation. And you can even get here and walk out onto the catwalk and see the whole thing.
Yeah, I would like to take a look at it before acting on your notice of intent. And we have time, I think, not this coming weekend, but I think the following weekend.
June 2.
I'm not just looking at you, Michelle.
God.
Although you're typically like in Mexico or Costa Rica or something like that. So cool. Is that something we can arrange? Could we make arrangements to meet with you, say on June 2nd, Saturday, June 2nd? I hate to take you away on the weekend, but that's when we do our sidewalks.
Let me just check my calendar. What time would you be looking to do that at?
9 o'clock.
Yeah, I should be able to do that.
Okay.
If it's about an hour or so, or less.
Okay.
That shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, and where can we meet?
There is a parking lot here right next to 200 Southbridge Street.
Okay.
It's pretty much right before you get to the train tracks. There's just a small dirt area.
All right. Okay, so let's do that. And we have your permission to continue the public hearing in this matter to June 12th?
Yes.
Okay. So is there a motion?
Move to continue this matter until June 12th.
Do we have anything on the agenda, Sheila?
I think I have one. Well, then we're probably going to have one. We'll probably
that's
have
right.
one.
Well, we'll see
And
about that.
I think I've got one other one scheduled. Wait a minute.
So why don't we say 7:30?
We'll go with 7:15.
7:15? Okay, so 7:15 on June 12th.
Okay.
Okay, and there's been a motion by Michelle. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
13th, my days are all screwed up here. I thought planning was on the 12th.
I'm looking at the agenda. It says June 12th.
I got the wrong date.
Yeah.
Do you?
I probably do.
Okay, well, that's not good.
All right, sorry about that, it's the 13th.
Oh, it is June 13th is our meeting?
13.
Sorry, June 13th.
I was getting mixed up with planning board, that's what I was thinking of, planning board agenda too.
Okay, so June 13th at 7:30.
7:50.
I'm sorry, 7:15.
I'll second that motion.
Who made that?
That was me.
She did.
All
We're
right.
all on
Chinese
Zyrtec
phone.
right now.
What time did you say you wanted to be?
It's
on the
7:50.
sidewalk?
Video.
No, the sidewalk. Is that 9
June
a.m.?
2nd at 9
June
a.m.
2nd
I'm
at 9
getting
o'clock.
nervous.
June
Master
morning.
Plan Committee's on the
At
12th.
200
yeah.
Southbridge Street.
I go
Okay.
Master Plan
All
Committee.
right, there's
I
been-
have
Just
to.
schedule
There's
it.
been a motion, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed to vote. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll see you on June 2nd.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good
Good
night.
night, you too.
Okay, so just continuing, we have a public hearing at 7:30, but before that,
Yep.
we actually went to Hampton Street, also on Saturday. The problem is that the homeowner was not present, and the neighbor, who I think is making the complaint, had a big dog who was barking. So we did not knock on the neighbor's door.
Okay.
I will say, though, that I had been to the property before, and I saw no evidence of any wetlands. And again, I couldn't see in the backyard, but I did not see evidence of any wetland back when I had been to the property, I think, last fall. With respect to Forest Park condos, we went there. If,
Just before you switch subjects
Yes.
here, I did send some pictures, I don't know if you saw them. I mean, there was definitely water back there, but I think it's just runoff water, it's not a wetland. It's
Okay.
just, I mean, there were some ducks in the water, I mean, it's just, the water collects there, it's the low spot. And I guess the neighbor was concerned that he was cutting trees down there. That was his
Just
concern.
Hampton Street you're talking
Yeah.
about.
okay.
We did go there, remember that?
We went to Forest Park condos. We think we found the brush. Although, to be honest with you, I'm not sure it was the right location, but
It was where he had cleared before, and it was just a continuation of that.
mhm,
I think there was some, what's that stuff called, bittersweet,
mhm.
and just other stuff.
If it wasn't bittersweet, there was some stuff that was cut down. That was old.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah, he did that a couple of years ago. He came in and got permission to do that, and now he wants to continue on and do more of it.
I
That's-
think
that's
that's
what-
fine.
Yeah.
No problem.
I say yes.
So I think we probably, the way to advise Mr. Flug that he can do that is to send him a letter.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we send Mr. Flug a letter telling him that it was okay to trim the bushes along the stream.
Okay, is there a
Second
second?
that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed to vote. And then our last site visit, one of them was to 34 Mill Street. Actually, we didn't go onto Mr. Robidoux' property, but we did go across from there.
Yeah.
And I took pictures, and there is some materials there that are, I think, are too close to the stream.
Yeah.
And so what I would do is, and I will make sure to print pictures, would be, I would recommend or suggest sending him a letter advising him that he needs to clear that those materials away from the bank. Or do you have a different opinion, Michelle?
I have a lot of opinions on this.
Okay, well,
Let
please.
me just start. Is there, not necessarily this, is there also an amount of cars that you can have on one lot that are unregistered in the town of
Well,
Arbor?
he has a business there, that is a business.
There's no way that you can necessarily get them out because they're blockaded in
Yeah,
between the river, or the stream that's there,
yeah,
and the tractor trailer trucks that he has parked in front of it.
Boxes.
yeah. He's not supposed to be having anything parked on grass either.
Well,
It's
Any
all
vehicles.
Ice cream trucks.
there's
and-
ice cream trucks and half,
Bunches.
I don't even think that any of them have an engine
But
that you
that-
could actually.
Respectfully, that's not a
I get
Conservation
that.
Commission issue.
Yeah.
So, but the cars that are, there's at least the three ice cream trucks are parked like within 100 feet of that river, as far as I can see. So yes, we need to send him a letter saying he can't. But didn't we send him that, and can't we fine him for that?
Well,
Because didn't we
all right.
warn him last year?
Time out, all right? First of all, it was probably 2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago?
Yeah. It's been a while. We can pull the file, but it was not last year, okay?
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
it wasn't last year, I know that.
So,
It was probably 2 years ago.
what I was gonna suggest is this. We send him a letter. We
Okay.
say, you can't store these things by the riverbank. We receive a complaint. You give him a certain amount of time. You tell me, or we discuss what the period of time's gonna be. He doesn't do it, and we can say even by our next meeting, which is June 13th.
Okay.
If he doesn't do it, he risks the issuance of an enforcement order and fines.
Okay. Okay with that.
All right?
So is there a distance we want to go here with this letter?
Distance.
That's a good question.
Because I don't know how deep how
The problem
wide
is
this lot
that
is.
there were materials that were clearly right on the edge of the bank,
Yeah.
and they can't be there.
Yeah.
What do you think a good distance is? 25 feet?
Well, we definitely have the 25 feet,
Yeah,
no
because-
disturb.
Yeah, right?
And then if he's parking them on grass, that's another issue. I think he was supposed to
But
put more pavement in.
Whose issue is that?
Um,
Who has jurisdiction
Well, it
over that
might be
issue?
the building department.
Maybe it is. So maybe we send a
Planning-
CC to
Planning
Caleb,
board, usually, I think, planning board.
or maybe we do a CC to the planning board.
Okay,
Yeah.
All
sure.
right. All right, so there's a motion to issue a letter,
Okay.
and the substance is agreeable to you?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second
And
that.
we were going with the 25 feet?
Yes.
Or
Yes, 25 feet.
Okay.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed to vote.
So that 25 feet, is it from the top of the banking?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then before we deal with the 7:30 public hearing for Mr. Mallard, the last item I'd like to discuss is 498 Rochdale Street. We were able to get more information. Scott Morrison was very helpful in sending us things he had filed with us. We also got, and I had forgotten this, but we had Margaret Washburn actually, we hired her to basically do a review of the work that was going to be performed. And my thought was that we actually retain Ms. Washburn again to go to the property and make a determination whether or not it's been restored, or that the stream has been restored in accordance with what her recommendations were, and also what Mr. Morrison had recommended.
I think that's a good idea.
You know, so, and Sheila had provided me with contact information too, so
Those phone numbers, I don't know if they're,
I had two phone numbers and neither of them worked. You know, so that's my only concern.
yeah,
But you're pretty sure that you spoke to John Stelmark, right?
yes.
And John says that she's still in business?
Yeah.
All right. In that case, is there a motion?
You go for it. I did the last one.
You go for it.
I apologize, but I was reading this and I
He was,
wasn't
yeah.
paying attention.
That's okay.
Shame on me.
Yeah,
Alright.
no, we weren't okay, yeah. I was doing the same thing, too.
All right, I move that we call,
Contact.
Contact.
Washburn and see if she can't follow up with Morrison to see if the work that has been done at 498 Rochdale Street is in compliance with
Her previous visit to
with
the
her
property and
previous-
her previous, actually study.
So
study.
do we want her to go to the site, though?
We
right?
absolutely do.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
just speaking to Scott Morrison.
Yeah,
She'd
no.
have to go to the site.
Go to the site, sorry,
then,
go to the site.
do an
and
assessment.
Actually do an assessment.
This is a revised 2015, the information I have right here.
Mhm. Yeah, that's
Okay,
it.
so we need to, that's, okay.
Okay.
Can we,
So there's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed to vote.
I'd like to get pictures of that backyard though before, of that neighbor's house. If we can do like a Google Maps kind of thing of that, to see if, like in the spring, like if there was any wood or, water, if it was spring or whatever, like depending upon what time of year it was.
Mm-hmm.
If they took that Google Maps picture.
Yeah.
We can certainly do that, and we can also ask Margaret to do that too.
Right.
Yeah, if we can
Try and figure that out.
Okay.
Anyway. All right. Sheila, I also see that there was a request from DPW for to extend an order of conditions for Upland Street.
Yep.
What's that about?
That was just like for all the maintenance on all of the easements in town.
Mm-hmm.
They had filed it, and then they had that, it was in that time frame. They got the extra 4 years, and now they're asking for an additional 3.
Okay. Did they actually submit a request?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
No, that's that one. He submitted it in, yeah, it was just a letter form.
All right.
I have it here somewhere. Here it is. Yep.
Yeah.
Did you want to see it?
Yes, please.
Here we go.
Thanks.
And I've got the recorded order here too.
Okay. Let's see this.
Thank you.
All right. Is there a motion?
Make a motion that we issue extension to the order of conditions to Upland Street to the Town of Auburn Department of Public Works.
Okay.
Is it Upland? Second that.
It says Upland Street on it,
Does.
but maybe up for other areas as well.
You know what, he submitted an application for Upland Street. Now this here just says, I don't know where it says Upland. I don't see Upland on here, do you? Was that, you know what it was? Maybe I put that on the agenda. Maybe I put that on the agenda.
Yeah,
But
It's
it
on
really
the agenda.
just like all the
It is on
easements
the-
throughout
it
the
is on the
town.
agenda,
He
yeah.
submitted a notice of intent for Upland Street to do
Okay.
that work on the bottom. Remember we had an enforcement or not enforcement, an emergency cert issued,
Yes.
and he submitted a notice of intent for that,
Okay.
which will be at our next meeting.
Okay. So
But this is just an extension on his existing order of conditions for all easements
easements in the
throughout
town
the
of
town.
Auburn. Okay. Well, there's Tom's motion.
Okay.
And is there a second?
I second that.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed to vote.
Okay, we've got that to sign.
Okay.
There it is. He's up on the street.
See if I can do this kind of thing.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Next item on tonight's agenda is a 7:30 public hearing. Andy Mallard, a notice of intent for the construction of a single-family residence, septic and well located at 165A South Street. Is there a motion to open?
I'll move to open.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed to vote. Good evening.
How you doing?
Good.
Do you want me to set up my tripod again, or I know you guys had
Sure.
the sidewalk. Jason Dubois from DC Engineering and Survey, representing Mr. Mallett, who is not here. Property 165A South Street. Again, we have the wetlands in the back down through here. This is the 25, the 50, and the 100-foot buffer zone. That comes right through here and picks up about half the house and a little portion of the septic system. And also the well's about 75 or so feet from the edge of the wetland. Delineation was done by Civil Site Engineering LLC in March of 17. South Street is up in this area here with the long driveway that comes down in the back. This is where he's currently living now at 165 South Street.
Right.
But you guys had a sidewalk Saturday?
We did.
Okay, and I haven't heard anything, so I
Well, I mean, I think where the house has been located in the septic, it clearly is some distance away from the wetland area. What I noticed was that the slope had sunk, and it had, basically, if you remember, there were wood shavings, and when we had gone out there actually to look at the wetland delineation, and that slope, I think, at that point was almost a 1-to-1 slope.
Okay.
What's happened is that it's basically settled, and it's my understanding that the applicant has is going to rip wrap that whole side of the slope to stabilize it. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Which side?
The proposed area, like through here, you mean?
Yes,
Yeah.
and farther down.
Okay.
Okay.
Like, actually, where those shavings were. You
Okay,
looked
I'm not exactly sure where the shavings, I know he's got this whole area kind of flattened out and there's slopes that, you know,
Actually,
come
that's where
down.
that driveway comes in. It's like,
Okay.
kind of like right over here.
Okay,
So, I mean, that was just the change I noticed in the site since the last time I had gone out there.
okay,
And we met, I guess the builder, someone who was he was moving soil, and he indicated that they were going to use riprap to stabilize that slope.
okay.
Other than that, I mean, I think where the house is located, it's, it's about as far away from the wetland as I think you can site it on that particular lot, unless you wanted to put it on the other side.
Right.
Over here?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting
Yeah,
that.
I mean, the buffer zone kind of curls this way and it curls this way, so it's,
Right.
I
Exactly.
guess the only spot would be like right here, but then
Well-
he's direct view, which he's trying to
Right,
avoid,
right.
so.
Right,
Yeah.
I understand. So, but no, other than that, I thought that the plan actually, the conditions conform with the plan. So I didn't have any other observations to make. Okay. Anyone from the audience have any comment? Okay. When do you think construction would begin, if you know?
I don't know, but I thought he was hoping to get started this summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Looked like it was
I
pretty
know
late.
that,
He
yeah,
split.
they're getting
They've already
that
cleared
driveway
it.
in,
Yeah.
and, yeah.
There's an enormous amount of material on that site. Do you know what they're going to do with it? They're going to remove it, or they're going to push it around?
What is it?
Just, it's everything. Dirt, there is brush that's been cleared out. There, as I said before, there are these used rocks, which I think they're going to use as riprap.
Yeah. I haven't been there since we did the soil testing in December,
Okay.
so I don't know what he's done since. I know he cleared the trees. I'm sure there's brush piles from the trees from the driveway. I know they brought in some grindings to cover the driveway with. I don't know if that's been done yet.
Actually, I asked him, the rocks, he said he was going to leave on site and try and build
Yeah.
a wall,
Right.
like a retaining wall.
Okay.
But other than that, I'm not really sure.
Okay. Yeah, I have no other questions.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay. If there are no other questions, is there a motion to close?
Make a motion that we close the hearing.
Okay. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed to vote. Okay, Mr. Du Bois, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
I'll try to get that typed up tomorrow for you, and
Okay.
I'll email it. And
Okay.
do you want to get the original, or?
I'll just probably send Mark or Andy and grab it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. All right, I'll call and let you know.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. and then revisiting 6 Pioneer Lane.
Thank you.
Ms. Grabowski, why don't you join us?
Thank you again. Sorry I missed you earlier.
It's all right.
So as per the site inspection at 9 on Saturday, we looked at the outfall point at 628 again. And I had been there a couple weeks earlier, and the water was leaving the 2 watermen, flowing, and it was level with the water in the pool behind 4 Pioneer. And it was trickling out the channel that had been dug by Lemansky last year to ensure that water can't rise up any higher than that 628. We shot the grades, we lowered the elevation between the berm. Just make sure we get the berm right. So right in this area, we had lowered that would appear to be, my estimation, was an old cot bath. In fact, there had been a crushed corrugated metal pipe underneath that raised up area. And we cut that berm down, as you had seen. And we feel that the water on that number 2 Waterman would be less than it had been in the past, because the berm is now removed and water is level from there into this pooling area and then leaving out at the 628. We would like to, I believe, coming back in front of you with a request for an amended order on number 6. 2 things would happen there. We have the 2 orders from 4 and 6, and Mr. Fine no longer owns 4. Both orders have the language from Quinn Engineering that talk about digging this out, compensating the storage capacity, planting it, and it has caused a concern by any potential buyers that we might be stuck with doing something on 4, which 4 has already has a certificate of compliance. There's another reason.
I'm not sure that's true.
No, you know
I
what?
was gonna
They
say,
don't. They
I
don't
was gonna say,
have
how
one,
did that even
and
pass?
When did that go down?
Like, how did that get a mortgage?
It does?
Well, wait,
Certificate of
You
compliance.
do?
let me see.
Okay. Here, I'll give it to you. My phone and
Well,
I'll...
we-
Add
what-
to it in order to get
Okay,
it.
and I was thinking, maybe it wasn't recorded. Something wasn't recorded.
Yeah, we signed it. It was recorded.
That's why it was a letter for the, right.
Do you know if this has been recorded at the registry?
I don't. I had thought it was recorded because we have a copy of it, and it just says copy. Didn't make it up. It should be in your file. I don't have any other documents except for
Wasn't I
that.
looking that up for you, Richard, when you were in the office? Didn't I look that up and there was no recording of the certificate of compliance? And I thought, gee, that's funny, when you sold the property, that there wasn't a question about that being on your deed. Because he had,
The commission at the time, if we see a date on that, I believe was satisfied that we planted it.
Yeah.
It says, again, that we made a site inspection on November 5th of 2016, and yes, we issued a certificate of compliance back on November 16th. So, no, I believe at the time we inspected it, that it, that the work that had been was requested had been done. And I was curious because the property owners at 4 say they've been there for about a year. So normally, in fact, we've had this issue come up from time to time. Most banks, when they do their title search and they find that there's an order of conditions, they want to see a certificate of compliance before they'll go ahead and issue the loan. So perhaps this is an exception. Perhaps, in fact, they
an
went ahead.
oversight.
Or maybe, in fact, the certificate of compliance was recorded. Okay, that's easy enough to determine. Okay.
Yeah, I provide them a copy of the certificate of
Correct.
compliance and order conditions that, when finalized, that it was signed off.
Could I ask,
Please.
if you have a copy of it, get us a copy to make it easier that we can look the book and page up and go right there. If
It's
Sheila
available-
couldn't find it, and I
It's
know
available on the website.
it should be, but sometimes, for whatever reason, we just had a problem finding one. It was not recorded exactly. If he has a book and page,
Yes.
Okay.
If Sheila couldn't find it and he's got a book and page on an original, I'll ask that tomorrow I get at least a book and page called in. We'll send a copy over to Sheila, and we should be set on that. But we're still not set on number 6.
Right.
Because 6 was the problem area where the original elevation 628 didn't follow the Quinn plan, which is the 628 was the high point on 6. And it runs, if I could, 630, 628, 628 was supposed to go, and then it dropped right to 626. What we would like to make and guarantee for the future, as I said at the site inspection, that there be a perpetual condition that 628 land can never get higher than 628, so that we leave this lot in a condition that will never back up into 2 Waterman any higher than 628. That can always happen down the road, and if this, obviously some conditions can be in perpetuity. And if 628 is known by all men that buy this lot, or women that buy this lot, that it has to be there, then maybe we won't be potentially back here again if somebody fills in 628. And in fact, that 628 that's out there right now would be modified, because that's just, to me, a temporary 628. You saw the channel. It should be a sheet flow, and it should, and I talked to Quinn over this, and if this gets developed, we should have a sheet flow 628 leading right here where it is at the property boundary, and we clearly have low enough elevation, so that this always drains as it had prior to any work.
I'm going to offer an opinion,
Thank you.
and this is based on just my experience having done a fair amount of real estate work as an attorney. I think if you want that provision, it needs to be in the deed. I'm not sure that there's something we can put in order of conditions that will satisfy. As you said, you want it to be in perpetuity. Well, the way you do that is you put that condition, or it can be stated in the body of a deed. That's one way to do it. Because otherwise, so currently for 6 Pioneer Lane, there's no reference to keeping the 628, as you said, in perpetuity.
Right, it just shows 628, yes,
Right,
sir.
and
Go
so
ahead.
it's all right. So what you need to do is that you're actually, what I think you're asking for is to amend the order of conditions to state that, right?
Correct.
So, all right, so I'm just kind of, working this through. So, it's just a question of putting any buyer of this property on notice that this is a condition they need to comply with while they own the property. And clearly, if down the road, as will definitely happen, they sell it to someone else, they also have to put on subsequent owners of that condition too. I think the best way to do that is for it to be a reference in the deed.
If I could. We're in 50 different towns too, in doing these conditions and orders and bylaws, and there are conditions that, Sutton just last week, this is in perpetuity, we put it in there. Maybe it's not the best place to put it, but there are conditions that, stormwater conditions that are ongoing in some cases, for commercial industrial, that you have to maintain this even after the order, maintain your basin. So there are continuing conditions, it's utilized there, but clearly I see that looking at
how do you-
deed 628.
How do you issue a certificate of compliance if you have
You have a
condition?
certificate, but that condition is stated that it's in perpetuity.
Like for?
Why don't I get a couple, but also there's two ways to do it then, deed, or if there is a form and way in which we have in the order, then we could possibly put it there if it
Okay.
seems appropriate.
And that's fine.
I'm just trying to help, one thing, remove potentially from number 6 this reference of, I'll show you, these are the 2 orders. This is 4 and this is 6. And if I just, one moment, if I could, that number 8 exhibit, this is a Quinn letter talking all about how to dig this out and make it. And we ended up getting it also in the same condition on number 4, and that's why some buyers are looking, why am I stuck with stuff that's on 4 on this 6 order? So if we were successful and the commission was amenable to us amending the order, we would do 2 things. Ensure that number 628 is always there in some form, and that potentially that this number 8, this Exhibit 8, that was in my notice of intent, Exhibit 8, this Quinn letter maybe be removed from the order because it really only has to do with 4. It doesn't have to do with 6. But
Okay,
I'm
now-
just trying to satisfy the buyer, but if it doesn't work for you,
Well,
I'm not,
well, first of all, this came to us as,
a flooding problem.
well, no.
Okay, I'm
I
sorry.
was going to say it came to us as a certificate of compliance, when really what you want to do is you want to really amend your order of conditions, right?
I think it was miscommunication. Tell me, sir, that between you and Mrs. and Sheila Conroy?
I came in-
Yes. Yeah, because he
So
was
we-
coming
we
in
weren't
and he
looking-
wasn't
Yeah.
clear with what he
I
was
came
saying.
in and
And I said, well, to clear up the deed, you need to have a certificate of compliance to
Yes.
eliminate the order of
So,
conditions.
all right, why don't we do this, all right?
So it's not a request for certificate?
Okay, I understand that now. So,
No,
right,
thank
you
you.
really want to amend the order of conditions, but we need something, we need that in writing, that it's a
Oh.
request to amend the order of conditions.
100%. This was informal for me to come here, and we would write a formal letter. If we need Quinn to show something on a quick revision, Quinn already said he would do this, Kevin, on the plan,
Mhm.
on this other 628 issue.
Fine.
So
Now,
we
we'd have
could-
to have a public hearing and a...
Yes,
Oh,
how
yeah.
about a notification, all the,
So
sure.
why don't we do this? Why don't we just continue this generally? And then when you're ready to file with us, if you think you can get everything in order and ready by June 13th, fine. If you think it'll
We-
take
we-
until June 27th, that's fine too.
June 13th would be more than enough time to file it.
All right.
I mean, we'll probably have it ready, I would say,
I need it a
7
week
days.
before, week before that
A
to get
week
it to paper.
before, we can do that.
That'd be okay.
All right.
Quinn
but
is ready to go, so
but if you
why
can't-
don't we get this thing in right
Fine,
now?
then, okay. So we'll see you either in a couple weeks or at the end of June.
I thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, did I?
No, that's okay.
Okay,
And we'll look for that certificate too.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, and if you see something, by all means, send it to Ms. Conroy.
And we'll find some other things that are perpetual perpetuity orders.
Because it's unusual, at least in our experience, to have a condition that is perpetual.
Ongoing?
Yes.
Yeah, all right, well, we'll see what we find. I know we hear it all the time. I'll talk to the agent both in Sturbridge and in Sutton, just locally, and also I have one in Framingham that's supposedly involved with police.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you again. So it's, well, so then, thank you.
Nice job, Richard.
Have a good one.
Thanks again.
Good easel.
Enjoy.
Take care,
Well,
lad.
I know,
Yeah, have a good one.
Jay had one, so I was like, I don't know, where's mine? I had the board, no easel. Thank you again.
Have a good,
care.
good night, guys.
This weekend.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Good night now, Sheila, thank you.
Yep.
I don't know, didn't that drainage ditch?
John, don't poke yourself in the eye.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, can I help you with something?
199 Southbridge, Asbill.
Yes.
You have it.
I have it.
Oh, yay.
Hallelujah.
Okay.
Did you
Okay.
get
Not
over
the
there
only
to
one
visit
saying
the
that.
site?
Oh, I made it, it's a new one, it's not,
Right?
We couldn't go to the site without the as-built. So now
Okay.
that you give
Oh.
us the as-built, we'll go out to
All
the
right.
site.
it's, that's fine.
Thank you. It's not a good throw.
Well,
Because.
that was a pretty terrible thing.
Got it, thanks.
There's not much to the Asbill, because there's really not much out there. It's basically just building and parking. I mean, that's really all it is.
Right.
The wetlands is upgrading of the building.
Okay.
And that was, there was never any destruction or any
I understand.
construction of wetlands. So this is basically it. This
Okay.
is pretty simple. There's a drainage swale that's constructed that goes around the parking into the culvert, into the manhole, and that's, you're looking at basically what's there.
All right.
Okay.
So,
So what we'll do is we'll make sure to get out there, and we'll, I'm sure we'll be able to have a decision for you by our next meeting on June 13th.
okay, so we should come to the meeting on June 13th, so?
You can if you want.
Yep.
You don't have to.
Okay.
I mean, we've had other
I was given the plan and they,
other certificate of compliance requests. People don't have to come.
Okay.
So it's up to you. You don't have to
I
come.
know my client is anxious because they want to sell their business, so.
I understand. All right, sir. We'll do what we can to expedite this, okay?
Sorry, I just come home from Maine to come to this, so I thought
Oh,
it was
so-
like it was,
oh,
I
yeah.
just drove 4 hours.
oh,
Oh,
no.
my God.
I told them not to.
Okay, you
I
did?
told them not to.
Oh, God.
So don't blame you.
Yeah, don't blame me.
Okay.
So.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Hopefully you're going out for a drink now at least, then.
No.
Yeah.
You're doing this sidewalk, will be on June 2nd probably?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, it won't take long.
Do you have a time?
Probably, I'd say 9:30, maybe quarter to 10.
All right, maybe I'll just put that in if I can get out there.
But you don't feel like you have to be out
All
there,
right,
okay?
okay, great.
All right,
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Sheila.
Okay,
Take
you're
care.
welcome.
When will you be visiting there?
June 2nd.
June 2nd,
All right.
okay?
Okay, guys,
All right.
thank
you. All right, thank you.
Sorry you came home.
That's all right.
Okay,
Do you think you have to be here?
No, he said he told him not to.
yeah.
I think he thought I was gonna get this.
Didn't that drainage ditch, am I picturing that wrong?
I don't know
Or
what you're picturing.
is the
Which one? Which one you're talking about, where?
Waterman Road?
She's
Yeah.
back to, yeah, she's
You
back
need to-
Pioneer,
I think she's
Pioneer.
back to that.
Well, apparently, and I have forgotten, we issued a certificate of compliance, which means that the work that was, what?
Yeah.
You're shaking your
And it
head.
was cool, the first time.
I'm trying to, again, like,
November.
obviously, I skipped all of last year because I'm thinking that we visited a whole bunch of places that we didn't visit
Correct.
last year.
That's
Okay,
right.
Obviously.
Yes, your judgment is questionable.
My judgment. But last year, when we looked at O'Reilly's, we were also looking at ponds.
Yeah.
Yes, we were.
Okay,
Yes.
We went over to
because
her.
we had a cease to sit, it was like a whole thing. And those people said that they were there less than a year. So if that certificate of compliance was there, he had that certificate of compliance before.
The new people moved in. It's
The
the
new people
relative
could-
that,
yeah.
it's the woman's
Who
son
had-
that bought the property. And
It's
he's
e-
very aware of what's
It's easy
been
enough to
happening.
trace the title on that
So
property.
that's,
Just pull the
that's what it
assessor's
was.
card. It says it right on the
That-
assessor's
Yeah,
card.
and you can just, actually, you can go to the Worcester Registry of Deeds, you can actually just access information
Yes, land records.
by the property address.
So
And it'll give a history of transactions for that property.
we thought that that was done. We thought it was finished, that it was completed,
Yes.
that it was all done, and
Yes.
then there was more stuff that had to be done to it, right? Last year. That's what I'm remembering. That's why we're all thinking that there wasn't a certificate of compliance
Because it was
issued.
flooding.
But there's
Because it was
right.
flooding
Still
again,
flooding.
Neighbor kept-
and then he
Maybe
went in, he
after.
Yeah.
dug it more
Down some more.
last spring
Yep.
in order to get it done
Right.
into the summer.
Yep.
And then he sold it.
It's very possible that he applied for the certificate of compliance. We went there, everything looked fine.
Yeah.
We signed off on it.
Because they brought it to the elevations
And
that
then
it
it was-
thought it'd be done, and then it was a problem again.
I remember
Right.
going.
Right.
And so and this actually dovetails nicely into what I had suggested before. He needs to amend his order of conditions. We have a right to have an independent not surveyor, but an environmental specialist go out there and eyeball it and make a determination whether, because the problem is this, and actually, Sheila, if you have an opportunity, you heard him say that he had obtained letters from other abutters that
Yeah.
said that there was always water in
Yeah.
that
I
land.
think I may even have those.
Okay, when we looked at the property, the water, or what was left in the backyard of Waterman, was at the same level as the pond behind 4 Pioneer Lane.
Right.
And I think that pond is not caused by snow from the CVS
No.
parking lot. That's
No.
high groundwater. I think it's always been there.
Yeah. That's down under there.
You know what my opinion is on that.
I do.
All right, so, I mean, again, that is, I don't believe it's necessarily him, but,
Mhm.
I mean, that's like a whole nother thing.
I think
But
there
that
are-
channel that they dug from 4 to 6, or 6 to 4, or however it goes, that I don't, like, if those two neighbors don't ever get along and one fills that in, that has to always kind of be patched, I would assume, because if one fills that in,
Yeah.
that's gonna be an issue always.
Yep.
I concur on Mike, I think it has to be put in the deed.
That has
I
to
would
be
say-
It can
deeded.
stay- it
That
has
can't
to,
just be
because
about
And
us.
you know what? No one is going to, I mean, it takes they're not going to know what an order of conditions is.
No.
And the fact is
Right.
that the reason why you get a certificate of compliance is to discharge the order of conditions.
Right.
So I think my opinion is that it has to be in the deed.
Yeah.
You know, so
Right.
we'll see. We'll see
And
what
then anyone ever buying it will definitely
they
see
need to
that.
put on
Right.
notice.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Absolutely.
They'll have to-
So, folks, it's almost 8 o'clock. There's a basketball game being played tonight.
Yeah.
Hockey game too.
That's
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so what
I
else
don't know
is-
if you,
anything else
if
that you
anyone
signed
has
tonight?
the,
Yeah, we gotta sign all this stuff.
I don't.
you didn't seem like it.
No.
I looked at
Must
both
be
of
that
them, and I
Zyrtec.
actually
It's
don't
the
have changes
Zyrtec.
in either one.
Seriously,
So
my
I-
allergies are
Really?
killing me
Yeah.
right now.
Maybe an apostrophe or something here and there, but I don't.
All
right, so-
I think they're wonderful.
I'm willing to defer action on the meeting minutes as long as we do it the next time.
Okay,
Sure.
I'm gonna hold you to it.
That sounds
You're on the
good.
record.
But
You're
we've
doing-
got,
We worked really hard on Saturday. You missed it,
I
Carol.
know I did.
Seriously.
I would rather have been
we
there,
have one
trust
order
me.
of conditions to issue here for Mallard.
Yes,
You had to really.
and we can do
Did
that.
it before the
Okay, we'll
rain
do that.
too, you guys. Just did it
And
before
we've
the
got to
rain.
make a motion to continue Longwood.
No, actually, we don't.
Nope.
No, we
No,
don't
not
have to
here.
do
We
that.
don't.
Oh, okay.
And for them, I think there's they have an obligation. If they're not going to show up at a meeting,
Yeah.
okay, because I prepare for them to appear. It's, obviously, there's some opposition from an abutter concerning this.
Mhm.
And I think, they had the presence of mind to request a continuance to the planning board meeting. So my attitude is that they didn't show up tonight. That means that this matter is not automatically continued
Okay.
to the next meeting.
All right.
All right, and I don't think, and to be very honest with you, I don't think we have any obligation to reach out to them and say, oh, you didn't come at the meeting,
Yeah.
so we put you on. And I know, and
Sounds hard.
there have been times in the past where we did that automatically.
Yeah.
I don't, this is the applicant is well represented. As you recall, they had
Yeah, I
quite a
remember.
presentation the last time.
Yeah.
So, my feeling is that, and to be quite honest with you, we don't know that they're going to be ready in time for our next meeting, the June 13th meeting. So, if,
I mean, I don't know if they waited to the last minute to send me something. As I said, I leave at 3 on the nights of the meeting.
I understand.
So what are we going to do? Just leave it hanging there?
I mean, if,
They have to reapply, no? Reapply for it?
I mean,
Yeah, never reapply.
They have
I don't
to
know,
resubmit.
Unless they
I
send
don't
you
know if
something.
Mr. Murphy is going to have a light bulb go off tomorrow and say, oh, I should have continued the meeting.
Yeah.
I think what we can do is this. We have his email address. It's on the notice of intent.
Yep.
I think we can say to him that, that we were not put on, I mean, you may go back to your office, you may find that there's an email from him saying, they need to continue it.
No, I don't
And if
remember
that's the
getting
case,
anything up to this point.
and if that's the case, that's fine, but if there was none, I would send him an email. I'd say, you didn't notify us that you weren't going to show up at the May 23rd meeting. We prepared for it. We have not rescheduled the meeting. If you want the meeting rescheduled, you need to tell us.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
I think that's fair to everyone.
Request, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just going to stay on the agenda?
It's not going to be on the agenda
No,
it isn't.
until
No.
they tell us they want
Okay,
to show
all right.
up on the 13th.
Okay.
No, we don't know if they may want to continue it until the end of June. I have no way of knowing. But I think the burden is on them to
All right.
tell us.
So I'll take it off the agenda until they tell me, then I'll put it back on.
Yep.
Okay. I'm sure they're going to ask me to put it back on, but...
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so for Mellor.
I make a motion that we issue a standard order
Okay,
plus the following special conditions.
gotcha.
1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, storage is no 9,
Yep.
11. That's it.
How about 12? Oh, no, I'm sorry.
There's no,
12 does
yeah,
not
there's no
apply.
restoration.
That's
That's
right.
Okay.
My bad.
Yeah, and that's it.
Restorationers or
What-
restorationers?
What I would say with respect to 7, which talks about riprap, what I would say is that the applicant will ensure that riprap is installed in the slope to prevent materials from migrating into the wetlands? Okay. So we've got Tom's standard order plus 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, and 11.
Okay. Second that.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, a vote.
Just wait, you have to sign it.
Yep, no problem.
Get anything typed up, Did you get the pictures?
I did. Those are awesome. Is that when you?
1978.
I can't wait to show you.
I'm sure I've got a ton more. I just happened to have a box
just
and I
go
was going
through
through. I
them?
said, "Oh my God, Dickie Culross."
Oh my God.
And there's probably ones of Eric there, but I don't know what he
Your
looked like
father-in-law?
to know
Yeah.
who's who. There was always a bunch of kids there, and I never knew who was who really.
Eric was probably in the woods starting a fire somewhere.
No, no one does that, ever.
Okay. So 700's got to clean up their act in the back there before we'll issue anything, and then you're gonna have to go back out and re-inspect, right?
Oh, yeah?
Oh, I will.
Okay.
I'll do
Is
that.
that 700?
All right. So that was it.
Can you contact Margaret?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, was there anything else on here that, letter to him? So I'll draft all these letters up now, and I'll run them by you before I send them?
Please.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And June 2, we have 2, right? 9, yeah.
June 2, we have the diversion channel, and then we'll go out to L&L.
I'm not going to be here that weekend.
Do it.
Sorry.
I can see.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, I was here 2 weekends in a row, man.
Yeah, you
That's
can
what
Whatever you
early
expect.
I would go.
Feel like.
I saw you
Going
last
someplace
time. I just
exotic?
didn't see you Saturday.
No, well, Eric gave me a weekend away at Canyon Ranch for Christmas. So I'm only using it. I know.
Pretty exotic.
Right?
All right. Is there any other business?
Make a motion, we adjourn?
I think so.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, a vote.
Steve.